Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Sometimes military relatives can be just unbearable. Let's start with such a story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Crazy lady calls after I gave her military son several discounts. I've worked customer service for a considerable while and never quite had the EP-style story until now. For reference, I'm the acting RGM of a Pizza Hut in my town. Pizza Hut's a franchise, so each store is more or less left to operate on its own devices, but our tools and systems are locked in by the parent company. With that out of the way, here's the cast. Me is me, MB is military boy, EM is entitled mom. So MB placed an online order for roughly $80 of food, comes in to pick it up, and we run our normal course, and he asks about a military discount. Now, we can't scan anything like that. The card reader is debit, credit, gift, nothing else registers, so I tell him sadly no, but I can apply as many coupons as I can and even direct him to our owner's number and the district manager to speak with them about installing a military discount. The total cost he paid was a little over $50. Next morning at 9:30, I get an angry phone call to the store. EM, I need to speak to the manager right now. Me, I'm the current on-shift manager. How can I help you? Oh, sweetie, I hope you weren't the child there last night. Yes, I was the shift manager last night as well. How can I help you? Oh, so you're the disrespectful little boy that told my son you don't have a military discount. Yes, ma'am, my store cannot apply a military discount. It's not an option within our systems. Everywhere else has military discounts, so you're telling me you and your establishment don't support our troops? My son's on leave from the Navy and only gets 1 week back home, and you made him pay $50 for some nasty wings? Ma'am, the cost of the order was originally $80. I was able to drop the price to $50 for your son and provided the direct line to speak with the proper people to establish a military discount. It's not physically possible for my store to apply one, so I can't help you in that regard. But if there's anything I can help you with, I'd be glad to do so. I know you're not speaking to me like that. I'm a popular foodie all over social media, and I'll make sure nobody eats at your establishment ever again. Yeah, so, is there anything else I can help you with? Click. Dude, screw that woman. You did the right thing. She can get all bent out of shape over it, but it won't change anything. Entitled military spouses and parents can be the absolute worst. And our second story. New rules for parts in the office cost a sales guy his bonus. Background. I work in launch quality for a mid-sized manufacturing company in the States. My team is basically the last step before a new product can get okayed to sell, as we do all the final checks, customer documents, and regulatory sign-offs. Our last manager just left when COVID hit, as he was near 70 and decided to just retire. Took the company till October to decide to hire a new one. During this time, the salespeople stopped coming in, and because my team were some of the few office folks coming in, because we have to check the parts, they started shipping everything to us. Samples, prototypes, final launch parts, paperwork, you name it. Even better, they rarely picked everything up. They may take 5 to 10 of a 25-part run and left us with the mess. A year of this in the office was a wreck, and they didn't care as none of the mess affected their bonuses so long as those parts got to the customer on time. New boss comes in, and he's one of 2 managers on site, him and the production manager. Because of how the factory's laid out, our team are the only ones in the office, so that's where he is. He questions the mess, but we say no one has cared about our concerns, so he shrugs it off. Now our boss has faults. He's pretty tone deaf on the resources and time it takes to finish things. Sometimes because of the industry we came from, heavy automotive. His attitude is if it takes us all 60 hours a week for the next month, we work on it. The other side of that is he's here with us and he'll occasionally just tell someone their assignment is to not be there for a couple of days if things are slow. And he has our backs. About 3 months ago, the company president comes in for the first time in a year. He's PO'd about the state of the office. As our boss is the only manager around, he reams him up one side and down the other for the state of things, despite new boss only being there about 6 months, and all this predating him tells him to just figure it out, but I want this office clean and professional. Boss comes to me and says, write me a policy and process for shipping material to the office, storage, and disposal of things that sit. Have the draft by the end of the week, and I'll get you a budget and some factory folks if you need to buy anything, move, or install anything. So I write one that's pretty easy and straightforward, basically what we've already been doing, but more organized. Shelves, ID locations, incoming and outgoing. Boss looks at it and makes 2 comments. We're not inventory clerks. Sales gets the ID of the shipment, and unless they get my or the production manager's approval, it's their problem. 2, we don't have that much space. Add a clause, we'll throw out anything over a week old every Friday. Then he got me 2 maintenance people and told purchasing I had some orders to put in. Then he sent the policy to the president. President said to do it. 3 weeks later, the office is pristine. President has his chest puffed out next time he comes through. Then, last month, it happens. We all knew sales wasn't going to pay attention to our policy, even though my boss personally met with the sales VP and the team leads. For the most part, nothing we threw out was a big deal, but then one of the team leads ships a whole prototype order to the office. I know the guy's infamous for getting other people to do his work and never follows up with anything, and if things go wrong, he throws us or production under the bus. Now, this order's a big deal. High 6-figure contract with our number 3 customer, part of a new line that could generate millions. I tell the boss, and he shrugs and says I should email the guy to remind him of his parts and the new policy. No response. Friday cleanup comes, and boss calls the guy on his cell, voicemail. So boss puts the parts on his desk and has me send a reminder to the guy. Nothing. Monday rolls around and still no follow-up, so boss reply-alls my email with his boss, sales VP, and president on it, saying per policy the guy had until 10 o'clock Tuesday, when trash people pick up our roll-off, to get his parts. Tuesday rolls around, and he has me toss the parts and email the sales guy that I did. Things blew up on Wednesday. Sales guy calls me screaming at me for losing the parts, and there's no way to make new ones in time. Who the F am I to toss his parts, etc.? Boss sees my face and can probably hear the screaming from his office and comes out to see what's going on. I managed to stammer something out and then got another earful from the sales guy. Boss takes the receiver from my hand, and I'll never forget this. "You will never speak to my people like that again." Pausing for cursing from the phone. "I am hanging up now. The next call you get will be from VP Ops for a meeting time to discuss this incident. We'll also discuss your unprofessional language to me." He hangs up as the next tirade starts and tells me to ignore the guy's next call, reminds me we have a big due date upcoming, and hands me his credit card so I can order the team dinner, and heads back to his office. About 4 o'clock, he closes the door, which he only does for conference calls and HR stuff. My whole team can hear him yelling through the door, but not much detail. Around 5:25, HR sends out an email with times for mandatory training on following company policy and another for proper workplace decorum. Boss comes out about 6 o'clock looking mostly tired and remarks, "I'll never understand why people want to F with the folks who make the money and write the rules. Oh, your work assignment for Friday is to be off." Then he just heads back to his office to finish our project. P.S. I never did get an apology from the sales guy, but he's been way nicer. I know the contract miss cost him his bonus, as it was his only one that quarter. I think my boss took some crap assignments for the next couple of weeks, but neither me nor my team has heard anything about it. You and your boss played this one very well. That's a boss worth following. And our last story. Entitled mistress tells Gov that my grandma was dead when my grandpa died. Background. My grandma and grandpa filed a divorce in the 70s because grandpa already had a mistress. But since grandma was alive, Gramps and his mistress couldn't get married. Grandma used to tell me that it was kind of the law back then. The story. According to my aunt and grandma, grandpa left them for a younger and prettier woman who lives in the same province as my grandma. It's important. After the divorce, grandpa moved to the province and my grandma's family's property. Yes, it belonged to my grandma's family. He and his mistress lived there and had 3 kids. My grandma, who already had 6 kids to support for college, took in 2 of the kids because the mistress had no idea how to raise children. And yes, the 2 kids loved my grandma so much. I grew up with those 2. By the year 86, my grandpa died, and since his mistress was living with him, the lawyer or something asked if the first spouse was still alive. She said no. If she said yes, she'll get nothing. No pension, no house, nada. Now, my grandma's cousins heard about it, since mistress still lived in the province and in my grandma's property, and this said cousin went to the city to tell my grandma what he'd heard. At first, my grandma was like, "So what?" And they had to remind her that my grandpa was in the military and the beneficiary would be the first spouse. Then my grandma told my aunt to get all the documents proving that she was the first wife, the deed of the house, and every important document, and a lawyer. They went to the province. My grandma literally walked into the church, dressed in black, crying about her dead ex-husband, for show, and the mistress was shocked, speechless. The lawyer then said, "Mrs. Brunana, we were told that you died last year." Grandma, "Oh no, I'm very much alive and healthy." Mistress, "She's not the first wife, she's lying." My aunt then proceeds to show every legal document they had, proving that she's the first wife and that she'd never died. The mistress lost her legal rights to everything. My grandma worked hard to keep our property in good shape. When she was divorced, she paid the taxes without Grandpa's help while trying to raise 8 kids. Yes, my grandma had 6 kids. The other 2 were mistress's kids. Aunt said that Grandma was planning to share half the property with the mistress, if only she didn't lie about my grandma being dead. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.